Welcome back to the channel, and in this video I'm going to make this out of 3 parts. Now the drawing that you see here, and if you want to see this drawing you can go to my other channel and I'll try to remember to link that in the description of this video, but this one I'm going to make out of 3 parts. So what I'm going to attempt to do here is create this one part or one assembly how you see it, and then I'm going to put a twist on this one. So I'm going to rotate this one up at an angle of 45 degrees. So we're going to get kind of 2 for the price of 1 in this video. So you're going to see me create both of these parts. I will be creating 2 isometrics in this part. And then I'm going to try my best to wrap this up all into one drawing. All right. So we're going to kind of take our time and go through this one. I'm hoping that this is not going to be a super long video for us to sit through, but let's see if we can get this done. So let's sit back and enjoy. Okay, so you know what we always do. We'll go ahead and turn the grid off. And then we'll make sure that our ortho is turned on. And I'll also have these as my running O-snaps that I'm going to use. And another thing I have open right now is my properties window. That's up to you if you want to leave this open, but we don't need to have it open now. So let's go ahead and close it. All right, let's go ahead and get started with this. So I'm going to start off just by creating a circle, right? And I'm trying to debate in this video, should I just use the typing keys or should I go up there and use the actual tools? So I think I'm going to start off this video kind of showing you what the tools are, and then as the video progresses I'll start, kind of working in the shortcuts for you. So I'll start off with a circle, and this icon here is telling me that I'm going to start off with a circle center radius, right? So I'll click here, go ahead and place my first circle. Always give yourself a little preview of it, and then this circle has a radius of 15. Alright, now let's go ahead and create our next circle. So this is going to be a circle center diameter right on the inside of this one, so make sure you touch this circle, don't click on it. Once you get the center, left click here, kind of give yourself a preview of it, and then the diameter of this circle will be 20. Alright, so now we have to decide how we're going to create our next circles, and there's many ways that we can do this. We can copy it and manipulate it with the properties windows, or we can just kind of draw a skeleton or things of that nature. So I'm just going to draw a skeleton since that seems to be the easiest way. So I'm going to start off with the line command, right? So I can type in L enter or come to the line command. Go ahead and find the center of this one. Do a left click here. And I'm going over this direction a distance of 100. Escape out of that. Now this is the center of my next circles, right? So let's go ahead and go back to the circle center diameter. I'm going to place it at this end point, and this one will have a diameter of 50. Alright, next I'll go ahead and do my next circle, right? So I'm going to go back to the circle center diameter. It's going to be right at this end point, and this diameter will be 30. And then I'll finish it up with one more circle, right? So I'll go back to a circle center radius for this one. I'll click it at this end point, and this circle will have a radius of 35. Alright, so now we have that circle drawn. Next, let's go ahead and kind of create this another line, and it's the same distance as this line here. So I got kind of 2 different options here. I can copy this line from this end point to this one, so I'll do that first. And then I'm going to show you another command that we may not have used, right? So I can go here, and all I have to do is select this grip with the space bar one time, and then come and click on to this endpoint, right? And all that is just moving grips, and I'm just moving that object. It's the same distance, and there it is here, right? So let me undo that and just show you another command that you can do, and this is one that you probably didn't think of, but we can use the lengthen command here. So I'll go to lengthen, and then I can tell it, hey, do it by percentage. So I'll go down here to a percentage, and this line here is at 100%. So if I say make that line 200% long, right, that's going to double this. So once I click here, it should double that line. If I give it a distance, you should see that this line now has a distance of 200. And you can see on the screen there that that is indeed what I have. All right, let's go ahead and place our other circles here. So we have, you know, this big circle we can copy. So let's go ahead and copy that. So once you select it first, and I'm just pre-selecting the circle, use the copy command, go from this center or midpoint to that endpoint, right? Because this one has a radius of 35, right? And it's going to be the exact same one as my other circle. Now I have to place 2 diameter circles on the inside of this. So I'll go to circle, center, diameter. Let's go ahead and place this one at this endpoint here. Give yourself a preview of it. Type in 60. Come back to circle, center, diameter. Go right to this endpoint. Again, kind of stretch it out. And this one will have a diameter of 40. Okay. Next, let's go ahead and place a line that goes across here. Or if you want to, we can also use an offset and place this line here as well. Let's use the offset just to kind of give you a variety of commands here. So I'll go to offset. The distance that I need is going to be from this endpoint, so go ahead and select this endpoint here, and then go and place it on this quadrant, right? So that sets my distance. Now I'll select this line here, click above it, I'll come back and select this line again, and then click below it. All right. Once I have that, I'll escape. Let's use the trim command. So I'll go to trim and get rid of these extra portions here for now. Okay, let's escape out of that command, and then we need to draw a line that's tangent from here going across. So let's go to line, and I'm going to type it in here. So I'm going to type in TAN. So I'm going to go a line from this first tangent. So I'll type TAN. Go ahead and click the tangent somewhere here, and then I'll type in TAN again. Hit enter, and then I'll select my tangent along here. All right, let's go ahead and hit escape. Now we can mirror this down, or we can do it again. I'm gonna do it again just to give you practice and type it in your OSnap sometimes, or you can shift and right click. So I'll go back to the line command, TAN, enter, somewhere along here, TAN, enter, and then click here. All right, let's go ahead and hit escape. Let's get rid of this line here. And then let's do some trimming just to kind of clean this up and make it look a little bit better or presentable. Let's go to trim. We're going to get rid of that part here, and then that part here, and then finally that part. All right, so now we can kind of see our shape that we have here. We have one piece that looks like this on this side. We have this kind of other linkage piece in there, and then we have a piece that's right here in the middle. So when we get to doing this in 3D AutoCAD or even Inventor, you're going to see that, you know, we're going to create those 3 separate components, but it's going to behave exactly the same that you're seeing here. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start creating my shape up here at the top. I'm going to start off by drawing a construction line that's vertical. So I'll come down and select vertical. I'm going to use this quadrant and then that quadrant. All right. Start the line command, right? I'm going to shoot a line going right across here. And referring back to the drawing, the total distance that goes across here is 95. So I'll go to offset, type in a distance of 95, click this line here, and then click above it. Now we can use the trim command, but I like to use the fillet command just so I can, you know, trim and cut all of this stuff and make it look really nice and neat really quick. So I'll go to fillet, radius, make sure that's set to 0, so 0, enter, go to multiple, and then what I'm going to do is, you remember with this command you have to select the sides you want to keep. So I want to keep this side of this line with that one, this line here on this side. Once again, selecting the sides you want to keep. I want to keep this side, and then this side, and this side, right? So there's my center linkage that everything goes through. All right, now I'm ready to start building my other pieces off of this. Okay, so I'll first come back to offset, give it a distance of 15, and then I'll select this line here and go up, right? Now the thickness of this shape is a distance of 20. So let's go back to the offset command, type in 20, hit enter, and then offset this line above it at 20. Okay, Now I want to go ahead and just create this linkage part. So I'll use my construction line. That's vertical. And I'll use this midpoint and this midpoint. Alright, escape out of this like we did before with the fillet command. So I'll go to fillet. I already know it's set to 0, so I'll go to multiple and then do the exact same thing I did. Select the sides I want to keep. So I want this line here with this line with this one. Now I want to keep this small portion here, so I'm going to click here with this line here, and then this small portion here with this line. Alright, so now that's that piece. Next, I want to go ahead and create the other piece that's here at the top. So I'm going to start off by offsetting. My distance is already set to 20. Go ahead and hit enter. I'm going to select this line here, come down, and then I'm going to select this line again and come down. Alright, let's escape out of that. Now for this piece, we don't have our other kind of dotted surface that's along here, but I can kind of place that there, and I'm going to wait till I put the actual hidden lines and things of that nature before I add that. But you can see that this linkage part here does exist along this side, right? So I kind of have a special trick of putting it on right now. Let's go ahead and use the construction line, vertical, and we have some lines back here. I can go ahead and define this midpoint. I'll use this quadrant here, this quadrant here, and then finally this midpoint. Okay, so those are almost everything I need to create the top, except for this one is in the wrong location, right? Because this is the actual edge of my other piece. So I'm going to use the mirror command. Select this line here, go ahead and hit enter. Find the center of this one, click on the center, come straight up, do a left click, and now 99% of the time we typically answer no to this. In this case, I'm going to answer yes. Right, so it gets rid of that one. Let's kind of zoom in up here at the top. Now we want to make our shape out of these lines here, right? So we want to only use these lines. So let's use the fillet command. Multiple. Remember, lines I want to keep. I want this line here with this one. This line here. I'm selecting here with this one. Always the sides I want to keep. So this part here, with this line here, and also with this part here again, with that one, right? So that creates that part. Next, I have to worry about creating this little bump out that's created by this shape here. All right, so let's look into that. We're going to use the offset command, give it a distance of 10, and we're going to offset that on both sides, right? So one side up there with this line and come down here at the bottom. Escape out of that, back to the fillet command, choose multiple. I'm going to select this line here, it's going with this one, and going right around here. So hopefully you're becoming an expert at using the fillet command. You can see it's a really useful command. It'll save you from doing a lot of extra trimming. Okay, alright, so all of this is kind of created the way we need it. Let's do a final cleanup on this. So let's go to trim. And we know that this center bar will not be seen, right? So I'm just going to trim these two lines right between here. Likewise, going up here. So I'm not going to see these here, as well as this one and that one, right? So that's that shape in a nutshell of what we do have. Now, of course, we are missing some hidden lines and other things out of this, but we can go ahead and put those on later. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and start creating my section view, right? So what I'm going to do next is create a copy of all of this. Go ahead and hit enter, click here, and then just move it above it, right? Okay, let's go ahead and use a construction line again. So I'll go back to the draw, construction line, vertical, and this time I'm going to use these inside ones, right? So this quadrant and this one. We do have this one and this quadrant. Zoom out. and we'll finally have this quadrant and this quadrant. Alright, so that's what I'm going to use to create these kind of center lines that are going through this. Next, let's go to trim. So I'm going to go to trim. I'm going to choose cutting edges here. So go to cutting edges. I'll select these two lines here. This line here with this one. And then finally on this one, and that line, right? So those are going to be the 6 lines I'm going to use as my cutting edge. Go ahead and hit enter. And then we can just trim off all this at the bottom. So I'm just going to do a left click here and go straight across here. And come right up here to the top, do one left click here, go straight across here. Alright, let's keep trimming some of this stuff out, right? So we're going to leave this one here. That one is already done. But in between here, we're going to go ahead and trim out all of these pieces that are on the inside of this, right? So I'm going to go back to the cutting edge. And this time I'm going to put a window around all of this stuff. Go ahead and go to enter. And that's going to allow me to now trim right between here. Also right between here. And then right between here. Let's trim right in the middle between here. And then these two pieces here and here. And between here and here. Right? You can also click on those if you don't want to. I'm just using a kind of a shortcut method of cutting through them. Once all that is done, you can go ahead and hit the enter button, the escape button in this case, and you're kind of created or done creating these 3 views that I'm going to need to create for this one. But remember that in this one we're going to create 2 separate ones, right? And it's really the same piece. I'm just showing that if this is actually clocked, right? So you will come across some drawings or some assemblies, maybe in your career, especially if you're on the mechanical side, where things are shown in different motions, right? It may have a stop or something at a 45 degree or something of that nature. All right, let's see if we can kind of cheat our way through this where we can do the least amount of work as possible. So let's go to copy, and let's take all of this, go ahead and hit enter. I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to move this over. I want to get it a fair distance away. Mainly because when I create that isometric, I want to create it here, and the one that's for this one, I want to create it over here. Alright, so I'm going to zoom into this one. Let's use the rotate command. I'm going to put a window around here. Enter. Go ahead and select this as your center. So now remember that AutoCAD likes counterclockwise to be positive. I want to rotate this up 45 degrees going clockwise, so therefore it has to be a negative number. So I'm going to type in negative 45 and go ahead and hit enter, right? So there's our shape. Let's go ahead and trim this off. And now we have that created, right? Alright, so that does change some things between here and here. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is go back to the draw menu, choose a construction line, select vertical, and then I'm going to zoom into here, and I want to find that quadrant that's located here. Now the benefit of doing that is that these parts should be fairly easy to update. Let's go ahead and erase this line. Oh, I was about to erase a line that I need. So what we need to do is get these lines to go back here. Now this is one of those commands that is, and still today is one of the most difficult commands to use in AutoCAD, mainly because people don't understand that you have to use a crossing window. So I'll go to the stretch command, and what I mean by a crossing window is that you're going to have to start from the right to the left and create your window. So I want to stretch these objects. I want to do a left click here on the right side of it, and then come across to the left side, right? Then one single left click here. That's going to be the objects that I need to stretch. Now you cannot, and I'm trying to repeat this and make sure you understand it, you cannot physically click on things when you're using the stretch command. Alright, once I'm done selecting objects, I'll go ahead and hit enter. I want to move from this endpoint here, so I'm going to left click at this endpoint, and then I'm going to place it at the perpendicular, and I see that that line is rotating, but it will still keep the perpendicular, right? So I'm going to go right to where it perpendiculars to this line, do a left click there. Now we can go ahead and erase this line here. Alright, so we basically created all of that, and we shortened all of these and created our views, right? Okay, so Now our basic views are done, right? That's all we would need to do if we were just, creating this. Let's see what the isometrics look like, and I'm really curious to see what this one is going to uphold to us or bring to us, because it's going to be a little bit more difficult to create that, right? Let's do the easier one first. All right, so I'm going to switch over to isometric. Remember, we just select this icon here. Now we're in the ISO draft. Let's start off by using the ISO left. And we're going to start creating some of these circles. So I'm going to create with the part that's right here in the middle. So I'm going to start with that diameter first, and I'm going to work from there, right? So let's use EL. Remember, we have to type it in. Enter. I'm going to click here. And now as I messed it up. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and hit escape. Type in EL again. And then I got to go to ISO circle. I enter. Then I will click my center point. Somewhere here looks good. I'm going to tell it that I need to create a diameter. So I'll click on the diameter. And then I'm going to type in 50. Alright, so I'll zoom into here. Let's go ahead and go back to the ellipse command. So EL enter. I enter. Find the center of this one. Do a left click on this one. Remember that we want to use another diameter, right? So let's go ahead and select diameter. And it should be a distance of 30. Okay. Now we also know how long this thing is, so I'm going to go ahead and switch to an isometric top. Choose copy. Select this circle here. Enter. I'm going to left click here and drag this direction a distance of 95. Let's escape out of this. Draw a line from this quadrant. It's going to shoot to this quadrant. Do the same thing along the top, or you can copy that line. I'll choose line. Go from that quadrant to that quadrant. Okay, so let's trim this off. Alright, so now we made our first kind of piece here. Next, we're going to start creating this kind of piece that's going this direction, right? Alright, so I'm going to start off by switching back to isometric left. I'm going to go to ellipse, enter, and then I'll type in I for iso circle. Let's go find this center, do a left click on here, and then I'm going to make it the size that I need it. This one has a radius of 75. Sorry, a radius of 35. I was thinking of diameter. So I'm going to type in 35 as my radius. Alright, then I'm going to go ahead and do a copy of both of these. That ellipse and this ellipse. Go ahead and hit enter. I want you to switch to isometric top. Pick a base point here. I want to go up this direction a distance of 15. Okay, go ahead and escape out of the command. Okay, so with that, now we can go ahead and delete that circle there. And next we need to draw a circle that's located out here. So I'm going to create this part of my shape. So we're going to go ahead and draw a line, and I'll switch back to isometric left as well. And I'm going to find this center here. Do a left click here. Go out that direction a distance of 100. Let's go ahead and draw those two ellipses that are on there. So we have one that has a radius of 15 and the other one has a diameter of 20. So EL, enter, I enter. Go ahead and click on that endpoint. Give it a radius of 15. Then I'll go back to EL, enter, I enter. Select this endpoint. And then I'm just going to type in D, enter, and that stands for diameter. And then I'll type in the diameter, which is 20. Alright. So we have our two shapes kind of built here. Next, I need to draw a line from this tangent to this tangent. Now this is the problem that we're always going to run into when we're dealing with isometrics. I can't draw a line by just using line, enter, and then type in TAN, enter. And then I'll click here, and then I'll go back to TAN, enter, and see if it'll tangent here. Right? And you can see that it almost does get it. And let's see what it looks like in comparison. And we're kind of experimenting here, but let's give it a shot. I'm going to switch back and come down to here and give myself a dimension. So DLI from this center to that end point. Come up and place it, right? And that's a distance of 3. And when I'm typing in DLI, that's just a shortcut for dim linear. If you want to use the linear, you can always type, come here and select that. Come to that end point, center point, and then go to that end point here. And you can see that is 7, right? All right, so we have a 3 and we have a 7. Let's see what those look like in comparison. And you know, who knows? It might be correct today. Let's see. So I'm going to draw a line. So L enter from this center, going straight up that direction, and then I'm going to move this line. I'm just going to pick a base point here, going out that direction, 7. And you can see that that does not get us exactly where we need it to be, right? So what that tells me that I need to do is go ahead and grab the bottom of this line and just pull it right down underneath it, right? I want to make sure it crosses at both of these points. I'll go ahead and draw a line, this time from this end point, or sorry, I keep calling the end point center points, the center point going straight up this direction. Go to the move command, select this line here, hit enter, pick my base point here, go this direction, 3, enter, and I'll select that line again, come straight down. Alright, so this line actually should be at that end point here, and then that end point here. Let's go ahead and delete this. Let's go back to the line command. Let's choose this intersection here. Place it on that intersection. Escape. Go back to the line command. Choose this intersection here. And come down to this intersection right here. Escape out of that command. We can go ahead now and get rid of our 2 vertical lines here. And then we can do some trimming just to clean this up a little bit more. So let's go to trim. I'm going to get rid of that portion that's going around here. And we're going to kind of walk our way around on this one. So we need to get rid of it here and here. We kind of zoom in so you see which ones I'm getting. And it wraps around to here, right? So that's that piece that I'm going to need here in a second. All right, let's go ahead and go back to copy. I want to select this arc here and then this, right? Everything else I shouldn't see. Enter. I'm going to switch to isometric top. Left click here. Then I'm going to go this direction, the thickness that I need. And remember the thickness of this is going to be 20. Escape out of this. Let's go back to the line command. So L enter. Go from quadrant to quadrant. Exact same thing along the top here. So line, quadrant to quadrant. And then we're going to trim off this portion here. So let's go to trim. Let's get rid of this part here. And we're going to trim around here at the bottom. Now I'm not going to exit out of the trim command because I have a few more things to trim, right? So now we got to start looking a little bit beyond what's happening in here. We know that we won't see this line here or this line. And it's going to come up also to here. Let me zoom in a little bit more. We have between here and here. Let's go ahead and get rid of both of those. Let's look along here at the top and trim off this portion here. And then this circle that wraps around. So starting from here and just work our way around this ellipse here. Okay. And then here along the bottom, right? So let's go ahead and trim off this portion here. All right. So now we have that part that's kind of built on this, right? So this part is actually done on the front part. Now let's worry about dealing with the back part of this, right? The back side. So we're going to go back to an ellipse, but first let's go ahead and switch back to isometric left. Let's go to ellipse, iso circle. Let's go find the center here, give it a preview, and then this one has a radius, if I'm not mistaken, of 35. Right? So we have our 2 points that we're going to need to create this. Now I have to decide how far do I want to create this, and I'm going to switch back to the drawing, and then we can kind of look and see, depending on kind of how your brain is going to work on this one. Okay, so we're trying to create basically this line here, right? We're trying to create this shape, and we're trying to decide which one of these we're going to decide on creating first. And it really doesn't matter, but one way kind of gives you a little bit advantage of seeing it a lot differently, because you're going to get a little messy because we have a line and all of this stuff that's kind of going on our isometric here, and all of this is going to have lines shooting through it. So I'm going to work on creating this front one here first as opposed to the back one. I can do the back one, but I'm just saying it'll just make it nice, easy, and clearer for us. So when I'm deciding on where I'm at, I drew this circle here. So you can imagine that if this thing is in an isometric and we're looking down on it, I drew a circle here that had that radius of 35. I'm trying to figure out how far do I need to move this circle to get it to this point here. Alright, so you already see what we have. We have the 20, so that gets me to that first face there. And then the other 20 will get me to the other, right? So all that just tells me is that I'm going to copy this line a distance down of 40, right? And that should get me where I need to be to start creating this. Okay, so what that tells me is that I'll use the copy command. I'll select these 2 circles, enter, switch to isometric top. Do a left click here, drag down this direction a distance of 40, and hit escape, right? Alright, so I have that shape there. Let's go ahead and get rid of this one. Next, I'll go ahead and copy this shape over a distance of 20. So let's go to copy, select that arc here, enter, pick a base point here, go forward a distance of 20. Alright, so now I have this shape, kind of what's happening here. Now I can start already trimming out most of this, and we can see that we can get rid of some of this, right? But I'm going to wait till I get my lines that go across here to be able to fully trim this out. Let's go back to the line command. And then we're going to find the center of this one here, right? So you'll see which circle I'm selecting on. I see that center here, so I'll do a left click, come down this direction, and then the height of this, or the length in this case, should be 100. I'm going to go ahead and place those 2 circles on here again. So I'll go back to the, let's see, where's my ellipse. So I'm going to isometric left, EL, enter, I enter, click at this endpoint. This is going to be 35 for my radius here. Then I'll switch back to isometric top, copy, select my circle here, enter, click here, and go back this direction a distance of 20. Okay, so now that I have this line here, I'm going to kind of go ahead and use this line to my advantage here. Let's go ahead and switch out of isometric top and go to isometric left. Use the copy command. I'll select this line here, hit enter. Pick a base point out here. I'm going to come down a distance of 35. I'll go up a distance of 35. Okay. Let's escape out of this. Delete that line there. And then what I want to do next is I want to copy these 2 lines back a distance of 35. Well, only just the top one. So let's go to copy, switch to isometric top, select this line here, enter, pick a base point here, go this direction, a distance of 20, escape out of this. And now let's start trimming out some of this. So I'm going to draw a line from quadrant to quadrant, Likewise here on the back side, so line from quadrant. And sometimes it's a little difficult to find the quadrant. There it is. It's a quadrant. Okay, so that just tells me everything I need to trim. So let's go to trim. And what I'm going to start doing is working on this front one first. So I'll trim off that arc there and kind of work my way around. For the second one here, I'm going to trim off here. Kind of work my way around here. Now I can start working my way to the back. So I see the front part of this circle. I will not see at all. So I'm going to trim here. I'm just going to follow this piece all the way around, right? I have to zoom in here. It's going to have two pieces. And I'm just walking this around as close as I can. Another piece right in there. Oh, looks like I accidentally got an extra piece out of there. Let me go back and hit the undo button here. And you got to be careful sometime when you're trimming. If it zooms in, it assumes that you want to trim all of this. You zoom back out a little bit and we'll have that part, right? Also here on the front side, let's go ahead and work on that. So I'm just going to trim off this big circle here on the front, right? All right, so we have most of everything we need here. Next, what I need to do is trim, because this piece is in the front, so I'm going to trim right here. And I'm just walking this around just to get all of these pieces gone. All right, and now let's go ahead and kind of work a little bit in the back. So I know that this part is going to be in the front, but I won't see anything behind this, right? So I'm going to trim off here. And then likewise here, right? So I'm going to trim off right here at this piece here and trim off there. Okay. Let's escape out of that. And then finally, let's go ahead and put our little bump out that we have going here and also showing on the back side. So I'll go ahead and switch to isometric left again. Choose EL, enter, I enter, go right at this center here. And then this one has to be a diameter, right? So D, enter. And I'll type in the diameter, which is going to be 60. Hit escape. Let's go to copy. Select this circle, hit enter. Change the isometric top. I'm going to click here. And now I want to go up this direction a distance of 10. And then we need to go back this direction, right? So we know that there's an offset of 10, and we also know the thickness of this kind of piece here, and that is 20. So therefore, if I'm going this direction, this distance should be 30. All right, let's escape out of this. And then we can go ahead and trim this off. Now, one thing you can verify here is that, and I'm just going to show you this really quick, is that if I go to the line command, and then I go ahead and put a line going at this quadrant, and I'm just going to shoot this all the way back, right? We're going to come here and we're going to verify something. If this line here intersects with this line behind here, then there's no way we're going to see that. So therefore, this line does not show up in the back side. Likewise here in the front, if I go back to the line command and I go to this quadrant, and I go right across here along the back, you can see that that clearly does not show here. All right, so let's go ahead and trim this and make it all work. All right, so trim, let's get rid of this portion here. I'm going to start trimming off this circle here, and that's going to help me alleviate some things here. So I'll trim off these portions right around here. And what this will do is stop this kind of, when I trim this part off, I can come back and get here. And then we can trim and work our way to here. Likewise here at the top, so I'll go to trim here. And the only thing we have left now is to get rid of this inside portion along here. And and then between here. Okay, so one more circle on this and we should be totally done with this isometric, right? All right, so let's switch back to ISO left. EL, enter, I, enter. Let's go find the center of this front one. D, enter. And this has a diameter of 40. All right. Now I can check and verify that these don't show through, and I know on all of these they don't. So there's no need to kind of verify on that one, right? So this one takes care of associating with this view here. Let's go ahead and clean this up by deleting these extra pieces here. But how are we going to deal with this one, right? Well, we can kind of copy most of the stuff that we have on this shape here to create that. Like all of this stuff that is in the back, that all stays the same no matter which isometric that we look at. The only thing that's going to rotate is going to be this front part. So what we're going to do is that we're going to keep all of this. We're going to delete just this front part here, and then we're going to kind of reconnect these parts here, and then we'll come back and see if we can make this all work, right? So let's go ahead and copy this isometric here. Click here, and then I'm just going to place it along over here. Let's turn the ortho off just to place it here. Go ahead and hit escape, and then turn your ortho back on. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start tearing up some of this. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to go ahead and delete around here. And we can probably delete here. Then we're going to use our extend command, right? So we're going to go to extend. And we're going to shoot these lines back here. Shoot that here, and then right around here. Now you can kind of look at this. Some of it might have a little double line there, but for right now, it's going to be all we need. Let's escape out of that. And now we need to try to figure out how we're going to create our piece that is rotated, right? So we're in the isometric left. We're going to start by doing the exact same things we did before. We're going to start with an ellipse, so EL, enter, I, enter. I'll click at this center. Kind of always give myself a preview of it. This has a radius of 35. Okay. Next, I'll switch back to isometric, top. I'm going to copy this circle and this line, enter. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to go back a distance of 15. Alright, we're going to erase this. Alright, now remember that we had this thing set at 100 away, right? So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to create an ellipse going right at the center of this one, and it's going to have a radius of 100. So let's choose isometric, left, EL, enter, I, enter. I'll go find the center, which is located here. And then this one has a radius of 100. Right? Now I need to figure out a way to create a 45 degree, right? Well, if you kind of remember back in geometry, if we create, you know, if the two legs are the same, then the angle that's in the middle of it has to be at a 45 degree, right? Now let's see if I can kind of show you what that means. So what I'm trying to kind of explain here is that if I have a line that goes down this direction, and I have a line that goes, and you can imagine that both of these are, you know, horizontal and vertical. And if I'm doing this line that's going this direction, right? If this number here is exactly the same as this number, then this angle here has no choice but to be 45, right? And this is kind of one of those grammar school things. Likewise, that tells me also that this angle has to be 45 degrees, right? And then this is a right angle here. So, just some basic math, and if you understand this principle, then it'll make what I do next super simple, right? And once again, I am going to apologize for my shaky triangle there, but you know, kind of what all I have here. All right, so let's go ahead and kind of create this now. So I'm going to start with the line command. I'm going to find the center of here. I'm going to go this direction. And now remember, whatever direction or whatever number you use here, you have to use it twice. So I'm going to go this direction. Let's go 60. And then I'm going to go up a distance of 60. And then I'm just going to type in C to close, right? So C, enter. So this line is created at a 45-degree isometrically. Let's go ahead and delete that here. And we can extend this going to here. Let's go ahead and place our two circles on here this. So we're going to go to EL, enter, I enter. I'll place at this endpoint or quadrant. This has a radius of 15. I'll go back to the ellipse command. I enter at that endpoint and D enter for the diameter. It has a diameter of 20, right? Okay. Now this is back again to where we have this tricky thing that is going on, right? How do we figure out where these tangent points are? Well, we're going to have to kind of refer back to the drawing here, right? This time it's going to have two different points. So I'll use the linear command here. I'm going to go from that center to this intersection. And hopefully it's a nice round number for us. And if it's not, as long as we get close enough. Okay? Likewise here on the bottom here, let's go ahead and measure that. Let's go with a linear dimension from this center to that endpoint. And you can see that they're going to be two different numbers, right? So roughly 12.51, and here at the top we have a 8.27, right? So those are going to be the two numbers that I need to create. Let's go ahead and draw a vertical line here. So L, enter. I'm going to go up. I'm going to click at this grip point and place it at this end point. And then, just kind of for reference here, we're going to use, let's see, 8.27 and 12.51, right? So 827, 1251. Let's go to copy. Click here, enter. Go this direction. 8.27, enter, and then go this direction, 12.51, enter. Right? So those are going to be my two lines for here where they're going to start. And then I have to come and do the exact same thing along this one, right? Let's go ahead and delete that line here. Let's go back to the linear and measure that one. So I'll do a linear from that center here to that endpoint here. I'll go ahead and do both of them. Let's go find that center here and place it at that endpoint here. Okay. Now let's go ahead and see what our numbers are. Here at the bottom, we have a 29 point, let's call it 20. So let's say 29.20. And here along the top, we're going to call it 19.30, right? Looks good to me. So let's create a nice vertical line here. And I can get rid of this big circle here. We actually don't need that. Let's go ahead and draw a line, move it here. And all I'm doing is clicking that center grip. Come and place the center here. Verifying those numbers again. If I'm not mistaken, it's 29.20 and 19.30. Okay. So the 19.30 heads to the left or to the right. Let's go to copy. Select this line here. Click here. I'm going to go this direction. That's 19.30. And then we're going to go this direction, and that's going to be our 29.20. All right, so now we have our lines created the way we want them. We can kind of connect this now. So I have a line going from this endpoint here to that endpoint or intersection. And then I'll have a line going from that intersection to, it's going to get a little rough right up in here, but I need that intersection here. Okay. Let's go ahead and get rid of our lines here. And then we're going to kind of clean this up just a little bit so we can see it a lot better. Let's use our trim command. I'm going to trim off that portion here. And let's kind of walk this around here. And let's see, yeah, that looks smooth. Okay. And we do have an extra one that's going right around in here. Let's go ahead and get rid of that line. Okay. So now we have, you know, kind of almost everything we need. We just need the thickness of this, and that's going to be set to 20. So let's go ahead and use a isometric top plane. We're going to go to copy. We're going to select this arc here, that line here, and then this arc. Enter. Pick a base point here, go back this direction, a distance of 20. Escape. Zoom into here, draw a line. Remember, we're going from quadrants to quadrants, right? So that quadrant to that quadrant. And we're going to do the same here along the top. So line from quadrant to quadrant. Alright, one more final trimming, and then we should have this one kind of looking the way we need it to look. And I'm just kind of trimming this around. Okay. Oh, looks like it did it again. Let's undo that. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and then I can trim this part. Okay. So now you see that we have that part showing, right? And now we got to start kind of trimming some of the stuff that we're not going to see, right? So we're not going to see this. We can look into here, and we're not going to see here to here. Likewise here at the top, so I'm not going to see from here to here. We're not going to see that extra arc piece here. That's just what's going to show and happen around here. And then we're not going to see what's happening here in the front, right? So all of this should be behind that other surface there. Okay. And then we got some extra stuff right in here. Okay. Kind of looks fairly neat there. A little weird looking, but that is the isometric for that. All right, let's go ahead and clean up our dimensioning here. Okay, so now we have both of our views that if you wanted to show this to someone that, yeah, this shape will bend in this direction and it'll also bend up 45 degrees. We do have that, right? Now, you also have another option of how you can show this in your drawing, and I will give you an example of how you do that, right? But now we can kind of start working on some drafting stuff now, right? So all of our isometric stuff is done. Let's go ahead and switch out of this, and then let's go and create some layers here. So let's go to the layer property, and I'm just going to rattle off some layers here. I want a hidden layer. Then we're going to make a center layer. And let's see what else we're going to need. Well, let's go ahead and make a dimension one. And we would make one for the title block and things of that nature, but for all I need for this drawing is going to be some center lines, some hidden lines, and some dimensions. Oh, we will need a phantom layer because we do have a section running through. So let's go ahead and place that one as well. And that's going to be a PHA one. Okay. Go ahead and make sure they're all on the right layer. So underneath the phantom one, remember we go to load, we'll scroll down till we find the phantom 2, select phantom 2, and then select it here, and then hit OK. dimension should remain a continuous, the center line one. Let's go ahead and adjust that to the load. Center 2, hit OK, and then select center 2, hit OK. And then we're going to go find our hidden one. We're going to choose that one. I'm going to go to load. Scroll down till we find hidden 2, hit OK. And then we're going to select hidden 2, OK. And then we can go ahead and change some color to this. So let's go ahead and make the hidden line type, let's say, why not? Let's make it red. Let's make the center one. I'm more partial to my center lines being cyan, so I'll choose cyan for that. My phantom one, let's go ahead and make it a blue. And for my dimensions, just to make it a different color, I'm trying to think what will show up nicely here. Let's go ahead and make it a magenta. Alright. So those are going to be the layers that I'm going to use. We can go ahead and close this now. And let's go ahead and create a title block, right? So I'm going to decide which way we're going to go about this. And when we got multiple sheets and multiple views and things of that nature, this is when AutoCAD using paper space really will excel, right? So I'm going to use paper space in this just because I have multiple iterations of sheets. Now I can do this by using multiple drawing sheets, but you're going to have a bunch of different sheets up here, and they're going to be actual different CAD files. So the best thing for AutoCAD, if you're trying to keep everything in one file, is to use paper space, and you can have multiple sheets all attached to one drawing. The benefit of not doing this is that, yes, you can have multiple pages, but they're going to all be different sheets, right? But the sheets will be a lot smaller. This file will get longer and bigger and bigger and bigger as you create more sheets in paper space. Whereas if you did it separately as a drawing, you know, the file size will stay relatively small, or depending on how complex your drawing is. All right, let's just go ahead and switch over to layout 1. Then we're going to go ahead and create a title block here. So I'm just going to type in REC, that stands for rectangle. Go ahead and hit enter. Type in 0, 0 is our lower left corner, hit enter. 11, 8.5, enter. So there's our title block. Let's go ahead and use the offset command. So O enter. I want to type in the distance, so 0.25, enter. And then I'll select this rectangle that I just made, and then I'm going to click to the inside. Let's escape out of this. I'll double click my middle mouse wheel here, and then I'm going to kind of play with this view a little bit. So what do I want to show here on my first page? What I'm looking at and what I actually want to show is these nice, two pretty isometric drawings that I made, right? And I want to keep that, and that's kind of important, right? So let's go ahead and just zoom into that one. Let's first go ahead and adjust our paper size here. So I'm going to go to Layout tab 1, do a right click on here, and then I'm going to go to where it says Page Setup Manager. So I get to Page Setup Manager, I'll go to Modify, DWG to PDF, ANSI full bleed, 11 by 8.5, I used an A size. I'm going to select in this drop down and choose Window. I'll select this endpoint here, and then I'll come down and select this endpoint here. Choose Center Plot. Here's the paper space. I want it to be at 1:1. That's perfect. And then we'll go ahead and change this to monochrome. So if I do print it out, it'll come out black and white. Go ahead and hit OK. And then close. Alright, so like I said, I want to kind of showcase my nice pretty isometrics here, right? So I'm just going to select this viewport here. Then I'm going to come and place it at this endpoint here. I'm going to grab this endpoint here, and I'm going to place it at this midpoint here, right? Now keep in mind that there will be a line still here, right? But I'm going to show you a way where we're going to get rid of that. Let's double click on the inside of this viewport. And you can see that it's bold. I'm going to kind of move over it, and I'm just going to zoom into here. Now if we want this to be an actual scale to it, we can adjust it here. And then we can play with some numbers here and say, hey, which one is the better one, right? You can see 1 to 30 is a little too big for it. Gotta back it out at 1 to 40, 50. Now we might have to get into some custom sizes, because if I go to 1 to 100, it could be a little bit smaller than what you think. Also remember that isometrics are nothing more than a pictorial, right? So with that being said, if I wanted to kind of do a custom scale of this, I can go to Z, enter. So that's Z. Z stands for zoom. Then I can go to scale, which is located down here at the bottom. I'm just going to type in SC, enter. And then we got to get a number and for the XP of it, right? So if I type in something like 0.02 XP, I'm expecting this number to go to 0.02 XP, right? So if I hit enter, you're going to see that this number will adjust, and that actually is 1 to 50, right? Let's maybe make it a smaller number. Let's go back to Z enter, SC enter, and let's go, instead of 1 to 2s, let's go to 0.015 XP. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Okay, so, and the only reason I'm doing this is that I can remember this number. Let's go ahead and move this up into position here. And then I'll go ahead and lock this viewport by selecting this little like icon here, right? Double click on the outside of it to deactivate the viewport. Let's jump to layout. And then we're gonna go ahead and create another viewport here, right? The magical thing about viewports is I'm in the layout one here. All I'm gonna do is select rectangular. I'll go from that midpoint here down to this midpoint. And it should bring in my view. I'm gonna double click here, scroll over, zoom in. I'm gonna type in Z enter, that stands for zoom, SC enter, 0.015 XP. And that XP stands for zoom it to paper space, right? So once I hit enter here, now both of these should match. As far as in the size of them, I'll go ahead and lock this viewport, double click on the outside, right? So now I have both of these viewports. Now if I do a print preview of this, this line here in the middle is going to show up. Some people may want that line to show up, some people may not, right? That's going to be totally up to you. If you don't want it to show up, I'm going to go back to the home screen here, and now I don't have a certain layer that I needed selected for this, but the easiest way to do that is just create a dimension, right? So if I create a linear dimension from here to here, and now once I created that dimension, and this probably was already created, but it creates this dimension called, or this layer called depth points, right? Let's escape out of this. So I'm going to select here and go right across, and now I have both of these windows selected. And I'm going to place this on the depth points layer. That just tells me that that viewport will not print. Let's go ahead and delete that. And then let's go and take a look at the print preview here, right? So I'm going to click the A in the top left corner. Then I'm going to click where it says print, and it should have a plot preview here. I'm going to take a look at it, and now you can see that when I get to my plot preview, I don't have that line that's right in the middle. So kind of one of those neat little things that's totally up to you if you want to do something along that line, right? Let's go ahead and hit the escape button. That takes me back to this, right? Let's jump back to model space and kind of add a few more things to this, right? So going down here to model space. Remember I told you we have some hidden lines that I'm going to go ahead and create. So I'm just going to jump to the hidden layer. I'm going to come to the draw menu, choose construction line, I'll choose vertical, and then I'll go ahead and put these center lines on the inside of this, right? So I'm just going to choose these quadrants here. I have some quadrants here. And then I have these quadrants here. Now I'm not looking at my section view here. I'm going to look at the view that's above that one. I'm going to go ahead and trim this stuff just like we did before. So I'll choose trim, cutting edges. I'm going to select these two lines here. I want to select these two lines here, and then these two lines. Go ahead and hit enter after you selected those lines. Go straight across, trim between here and right across here, right? Let's go ahead and do the exact same stuff on this other view here, and you're going to see that the lines are in a little bit different location, but principle still works the same. So let's go to draw, construction line, vertical. I'm going to choose these two quadrants, these two quadrants here, and then these two quadrants here. Okay, zoom in up here, do the exact same trim that I did on the other one. So trim, cutting edges. I'm going to select these two lines, and then these two lines, and then these two lines. Enter. Let's go straight across and straight across here. Alright, and we do have some more hidden lines that are located along here as well. So what I'm going to do here is I'll go to the mirror command. Select this arc here, hit enter. From this center, going straight down here, go ahead and hit enter. I'm going to go to the extend command. I'm going to extend here. Let's go ahead and hit escape. Now I know I have an extra piece here because I don't want this to be here, because you can see that this is where that arc is going. I need it to stop here. I can use the trim command, and hopefully I got to be careful on which one I select. So I'm going to select right here, and it should trim it. Right now, one other thing that it will do is it will leave an extra piece here. Right, so you have to be careful about that. So I've trimmed it there, and then it left that extra piece here. And I'll show you a quick way of doing that, or getting rid of that. Let's go ahead and do match properties. So match properties, I'm going to select one of these red lines. Go back to match property, select the red line, and then select that line there. Let's escape. Then let's go over here. This one should be a lot simpler. So I'll go back to the mirror command, select that line there, enter, from this center, going straight down here, and match properties like we did before. Match properties, select the red line here, then select that here. And you can also see that this one is going to have some extra stuff happening, right? Because these red lines actually are supposed to stop right here at these points, right? So let's go ahead and trim. And I'm just going to trim off that piece there and that piece. We do have some extra lines there, right? Easiest way of getting rid of that is to go to modify, choose the little broom here, and the command for that is called overkill. Alright, we're going to choose overkill. I'm going to type in ALL. It's asking me what I want to select. I'm going to select all, hit enter, and then hit enter one more time. It should bring open a dialog box. And after you see that dialog box, just go ahead and hit OK. Right? And it looks like it did not. It cleaned up some overlapping, and it didn't get the ones that are located here. So I'll go ahead and manually delete those. And it got my other one that's located here. Perfect. Okay. Next thing let's go ahead and do is go ahead and create our center lines, right? So I'm going to switch out of this and go back to the 0 layer. I'll go ahead and type in center layer and put it on the cen layer, right? So CEN, right? And the next thing I'm going to do is adjust the extension on it. So center EXE. Let's go ahead and make that number 5. Alright, now we're ready to go ahead and put all of our center marks on here and center lines. Remember, that's located under annotate. And then we're going to go to center marks. Let's go ahead and place them on these big circles here, right across here and here. Same on this side, so here, here, and here. Then we can use our center layers. I'm going to place them in between here, right? So I'm just going to hit the enter button, kind of save us some time. And I can, once again, I will apologize. I knew this video would be a long one, but you know, thank you for sticking in. And if you made it this far, I want to really send a special appreciation to you for hanging in with me. Let's keep going and do all of our center lines okay on this side as well. And all I'm doing is hitting the enter button just to take me back to the last command when I create these. Alright. And for time's sake, I'm not going to go into fully dimensioning this. I'm just going to put in a few dimensions. But I wanted to kind of show you, some of the neat features and tricks of adding these things and doing stuff of this nature. Okay. Now this is all done. Let's go ahead and go back to the layout one. And then we can kind of decide, do we have enough room to put views underneath this one, or do we want to apply this to another one? Maybe these are two different assemblies, and I think that's kind of the way I want to run with this. So maybe you had somebody assemble this one way, and you may have had them assemble this another way, right? Some companies will use different part numbers for these, and some companies will use extension numbers or dash numbers for these. So I'm just going to make a dash number for these, right? I'm going to zoom into this one, and I'm just going to use dynamic text. So single line text. It's asking me for a justification. I'll type in MC, that stands for middle center. I'll click here for my middle center point. The height that I'm going to need, 0.2 should be pretty fine for what we're going to need. I'm going to hit enter. I have no rotation. Go ahead and hit enter. And then you can either give it whatever number it is, or you can just, basically give it a description or whatever you want. Let's go ahead and call this assembly 1. So this is going to be my assembly 1, and it's really proper to have the caps lock on. So this will be my assembly 1, right? I'll click off of it and then do an escape. Let's go ahead and select this dimension, use copy. So I'll go to CO, enter, go from that endpoint to this endpoint, escape, and then I'm just going to edit this one, right? So ED, enter, select here. And we do have two assemblies, right? Alright, so this view and everything looks perfect. Everybody would be happy with that. You would have some notes and things of that nature on this. Maybe even a parts list if that's something that you are desiring to do. Alright, so for the next step here, I'm going to create another sheet. So on layout 1, do a right click on this one. Let's just go ahead and rename this to sheet 1. Once I got it renamed, I'm going to select it again, do a right click on it, go to move or copy. Once our dialog box appears, I'm going to tell it to create a copy of it, and it's asking me where do I want to put it before. Let's go ahead and put it before layout 2, hit OK. You can see now I have a sheet 2, I'm going to double click on it, and then I'm going to also rename this to sheet 2. Okay, so while this is sheet 2, I'm going to go ahead and select this, and then I'll go ahead and delete that one. Let's also delete the assembly 2. And then I'm going to stretch this out, right? Let's go ahead and hit escape on this. Now, I have to kind of decide, and let's unlock this viewport. Let me double click on the inside and hit the lock button here. My views are created kind of sporadically, and you can see that I have them vertically, and they really need to be, one needs to be horizontal to the other one and things of that nature, right? So I have to try to figure that out, which way that I'm going to approach that. And I'm going to show you two different methods of approaching that depending on how you want to create your drawings, right? One way is to approach it with viewports, and the other way is going to be approaching it by moving this stuff in the physical model tab, right? So in this one, I'm going to move it in the model tab, and in the second one, I'm going to move them by creating different viewports for everything. Okay, so let me double click here. Let's jump to the modeling tab, and this is going to be my one view, right? Now keep in mind that I cannot move this view. This view is already showing up in one of my viewports. If I move it, it will delete from that viewport, or not delete from it, it will be moved out of the view that I have it in that viewport. So it's a lot easier for me to go ahead and move these and then start playing with these, right? So I'm going to move this one over, and then I'm just going to move it down. And then we're going to move this one down. Right? So this way I have my viewports located where I need them. While I'm here, let's go ahead and do the hatch patterns that are on here. Let's go to home. Let's go to hatch. Now, a real good standard thing to do here is start off and go ahead and adjust this. I know my scale is somewhere around 50/60, but that's going to be kind of, you know, something that I can customize as well. So I'm going to set it equal to 50 right now. So when I go in here and go to pick points, it's not going to go super crazy, right? So I can click here, click in there, inside of here, and then finally here. Let's go ahead and close that hatch creation. All right, so I have all of my views created here, right? Let's go to sheet 2. I'll double click on the inside of here, and then let's go ahead and start adjusting what I want this to be. Let's try what the 1 to 50 looks like. It's in a little close. I'm gonna double click to the outside, and you can see that I might be able to get away with 1 to 50, right? Let's go back to the model space and move this over. No, I don't think I'll be able to get it. I'm just looking at this here. All right, so go back to here. And so 1 to 50 won't work. So I'm gonna need to create a 1 to 60 would actually be a little bit better here. So I'll double click on the inside of here, click the fly up. I'm going to scroll down to where I find custom. I'm going to find the 1 to 100. I'll hit add, type in my 1:60. Paper space unit is 1, drawing units will be 60. Hit the OK button. I'll go ahead and move it up, just so it's after my 1 to 50. Go ahead and hit OK on that. I'm going to double click back in my screen here, and now 1 to 60 should be one of my options. Yes, perfect. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to double click to the outside here. Let's go ahead and get rid of that assembly 1. I see that it's kind of in the way. But I can double click here and I would lock my viewport, right? And then from here we can go ahead and do all of our dimensioning and things of that nature, and you've seen me do that in many other videos. I'm not trying to have this probably to be a, you know, hour and 40-minute long video. But so for what we need here, let's double click on the outside. This is ready to go with all our dimensions, right? So we have sheet 1, which is locating and showing our different assemblies. And now that I thought about it, I probably should have kept my assembly too. Now luckily, I don't know if I've ever showed you this command before. That was the last thing I deleted. So if I type in oops, the oops command, which is OOPS, and hit enter, it should bring back the last thing I deleted. So I'm going to select that, and then I'll place it here at the bottom. I'm going to turn my ortho off, right? Okay, so this is one way that you can do it in Paperspace. Now the other method I'm going to show you here is going to require you to make multiple viewports, but you're not going to have to go and play Jenga with all of your different shapes in model space. So one way is you're going to do it in model space. The other way is you're just going to move things around in Paperspace, right? So that'll be the last thing I show you on this, and you know, and we'll probably say our goodbyes for this video for the night. Okay, so I'll select this sheet 2. I'll go ahead and do another one of those, let's see, move or copy. I'm going to select sheet 2. I'm going to select this one that says create a copy. I'm sorry, and then I'll select layout 1. So I'm going to create a copy of this one. Go ahead and hit OK. Let's go ahead and rename this to sheet 3. Okay, and then I have this viewport here that I need to get rid of. Oh, I knew I grabbed the wrong thing here. No biggie. Let's go ahead and delete them both. Go back to the offset command. Type in 0.25. Select here and back to the inside. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and rename this as assembly number 2. Okay. So with this one, like I said, we're going to have to create multiple viewports, right? Remember that in the layout up here, we have this one that's called rectangular. And I'm just going to create my first one, which is located here. I'm going to zoom into it. I'll double click inside of this viewport. And then I'll go find the view that I want to look at. So I want to look at this viewport at the scale of 1 to 60. And don't worry about if it doesn't fit on here right now. That looks good to me. I'm going to go ahead and lock it here. I'm going to double click to the outside of that viewport. And then you're going to see me kind of manipulate this viewport, right? So I can make it a little bit big like this. Now, one of those commands that'll help you adjust all of these is called a regen all. So REA. And what regen all does is it regens paper space as well as model space. So that's why you're able to see me do and get that done, right? Go ahead and create another rectangular one. And I'm going to make it about the same size as this one since I have my numbers correct. And double click inside of this viewport. Zoom into this one at the top. And then we can go ahead and adjust to 1 to 60. Lock the viewport. Double click on the outside, right? Now, once again, you want to adjust these, right? If I just do a RE, you can see that it only adjusts what's on the outside here. And that's just a regular regen, right? So RE is just a regen on whichever one I'm on. It's only going to regen my paper space. But if I want to regen paper space and model space, REA, that's a regen all. And watch what happens to my hidden lines and my center lines. You should see them. Now, here's the other thing. You want to make sure that these stay in line with each other, right? So I can go to the move command, so enter. I can select this viewport, enter, go to the end point here, and then place it right at this center, right? And then I'm going to go back to the move command, so enter. I'll pick a base, well, I'll pick the last thing I selected, which was this, enter, pick a base point here, and go straight up from it, right? So I can control how I want to do this, right? And then I can go ahead and put my other viewport here. So just rectangular. Go ahead and create a rectangular viewport somewhere along here. I'm going to double click inside of this viewport. And remember, I'm looking for just this. Let's go ahead and adjust the scale, that 1 to 60. Double click on the, well, let's go ahead and lock it. And double click on the outside of this, right? So now you have to keep in mind that when you move things, move them together. So I'm going to move these two views together just so I can give myself a little bit more room here. And move this over a hair. Okay? And then once again with my regen all, that'll regen everything. And I didn't put the hatches on this, but you can see that I can have a little bit more control over how I can manipulate this one, right? I have control on this one as well. I can double click back in this viewport, and then I can, you know, physically move this over like so, and then double click on the outside. So it's going to be kind of up to you however you want to do this. Remember that we're going to put this back on that depth points layer. Okay? And just the last thing that's tearing me up tonight before I, you know, let you guys go for the evening is I'm going to go ahead and put my hatches on the inside of this because I did it on the first one, so I want to make sure that it's done on the second page here as well. Okay, and one other thing that I didn't do is actually show a phantom line or a section line going through this, actually manipulating this, right? Because, you know, these are going to be kind of interesting sections that'll go through here. They'll kind of go through here, come up, zigzag, and go through there and drop down, right? So I might actually save that in another video, and I might just, you know, after this one, make another video just showing you how I would dimension this, and I think that'd probably be a better solution for this. So I know this video is cutting kind of long, so I'll save that for a part 2 to this video if anyone wants to follow up on this one. So I'll try to get that part done and release that one, you know, fairly close to whenever this one is released, so you won't have to go too long, or if it's something that you want to kind of finish out on this one, right? So I think this is probably a good stopping point to leave this one. So I hope you enjoyed the isometric, since you saw that that did take the longest. And I'm so happy that if you did stick with me with this video from, you know, beginning to the end. I really do appreciate you watching, and for all of you who are liking and subscribing, and another special thanks to new subscribers. I'm, you know, truly blessed and amazed that I am getting, you know, new subscribers every day, and this channel is growing. So thank you for all of your support and for everything that you are doing for me. And until the next video, once again, thank you for watching, and I really do appreciate you.